What is up, you guys? It is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho, bringing you another Senran Kagura discussion. If you guys didn't see my discussion yesterday regarding why Yumi is my least most favorite character, I suggest you check it out, because that one was pretty much, honestly, I don't think I did bad in that one, but check it out. Anyway, today in this video, we're going to be talking about another Senran Kagura discussion, and this is going to be about the Root of Calamity. So, we're mostly going to be talking about Murasaki and Imu's past, because these sisters, I honestly think that no one really bothered to bring up this discussion. So you know what, once again, this is a Senran Kagura discussion, because, you know, not that many people do Senran Kagura discussions on the characters and their past and all that other stuff. So my channel is here to fill in that information and fill you guys in on even more of Senran Kagura, and mostly for more Senran Kagura lore. So let's get this started. The Root of Calamity, we're going to start off with that. The Root of Calamity, it's a secret ninja art where you infuse your body with an explosion of spiritual strength. And honestly, this runs in Imu and Murasaki's family, but the first one to awaken that power is Murasaki. It's also more of a power-up too that can help you. But Murasaki, from what I've seen from Murasaki, like in the games, in the Senran Kagura games, you can actually see a purple surge, like Root of Calamity is like a purple surge of power just flowing through you. And Murasaki is, you know, when you play as Murasaki in the Senran Kagura games, you can use it more with her. When you play as Imu, you can't really use a lot of it. I think the only time you use Root of Calamity with Imu, and you can't use this manually, it only happens in the story. So the only time you can use Root of Calamity with Imu, and like literally the only time that you play as Imu with Root of Calamity is in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus in one of the chapters of the game. Close to the end of the chapter, I think it's chapter 5, where Imu awakens the Root of Calamity through rage after Murasaki was shot down by Ryobi, along with Ryona, who was trying to get revenge on Miyabi for the death of their sister, not really knowing what the real reason was for her sister's death. But anyway, let's get this started. We're going to start off with the past. Around the 3rd grade, Murasaki was, you know, Murasaki and Imu were totally cool and all that stuff. But from what I remember when playing Shinobi Versus and what they told us, because Shinobi Versus you can get pretty much all this information, like you literally be told the information about the new characters of Senran Kagura, because, you know, Murasaki, Imu and them, along with Miyabi and them, were first introduced in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus when the game came out as new Senran Kagura characters. And what happened in this story, you know, back then in their past, is that Murasaki was, she always holded on to her toy bear, Bepepe, and like anyone who takes her doll away from her, because Bepepe is basically her only friend. Imu, I think probably still treated Murasaki like crap back then, but was still a little bit cool with her. And they both come from a long line of evil shinobi, basically. Their family's basically an evil shinobi clan, which means that I can only guess one thing, and I was pretty much almost right about this, I think, half right. But I think their father is a little bit, like, their father was a little bit abusive to them at first, not like as in hitting them or all that stuff, but he basically needed to train them to be strong shinobi, which means he probably pushed them hard in training and all that shit. But I think it was mostly Murasaki that their father was truly mad at, because Murasaki always holded on to her doll and never let go of him at all. Like, literally in this world you need to be a strong shinobi, not be attached to petty things and all that stuff, from what her father was thinking. And there was even one time, there was literally one time where her father was pulling her hair and all that stuff. She's saying, "Where do you think you're going, young lady?" and all that stuff. This is some of the dialogue shown in Shinobi Versus during the past. And what happened was, after that they went out to training, and, you know, Imu was pissed off and shit because Murasaki kept her waiting a little bit long. And what happened was Imu pulled Murasaki's dog Bepepe, and that's one thing you should never do. We all know what happens when someone tries to take Murasaki's doll away from her, because Bepepe is basically her only friend, and literally, and she's remained, like, her doll has remained with her since literally the start of Senran Kagura, all the way up to the recent Senran Kagura game. So everyone knows that if you pull her doll away from her, she's gonna go crazy. And here's what I'm going to explain right now. We're about to explain that right now. Imu tries to pull Bepepe away from Murasaki, but what happens is that Murasaki uses the Root of Calamity. She was the first to awaken it, and she defeats Imu with it. But she literally has no memory of using the Root of Calamity. I think for at least the first couple of times that she's used Root of Calamity, mostly randomly, like it awakens through rage and all that stuff, so she has no memory of basically using it. Like, what can I literally compare for an example of someone who doesn't have any memory of using something? I think Naruto didn't have memory, like he didn't have any memory of using the nine-tailed fox. Like whenever he uses the nine-tailed fox uncontrollably and all that shit, he couldn't control its chakra and all that shit, so he had no memory of using it for the first couple of times. That's basically a perfect example of what I'm trying to say here. Murasaki has no memory of using the Root of Calamity for the first couple of times, and she defeats Imu with it, which means that after she defeated Imu, Imu decided to distance herself from Murasaki because Imu has always aimed to achieve the Root of Calamity. Like she knew about the Root of Calamity way before, like, you know, she knew about the Root of Calamity. It's like it's basically a special trait in their clan. Like I said, it is a secret ninja art, but I feel like it could be more than a secret ninja art. It could be like a power-up too, like a power-up for the ninja art as well, like a secret power-up too. Because it says it infuses your body with an explosion of spiritual strength. So honestly, I think it could be more than just a secret ninja art. It could be like a special power that can, you know, help you in battle and stuff if you actually learn to master it a bit more. And from what I've seen in the Senran Kagura games, it doesn't look like Murasaki or Imu have, you know, mastered the Root of Calamity. They can only use it probably uncontrollably, like through rage and all that stuff. Like, you know, Murasaki, for example, you know, Imu tried to take Bepepe away from Murasaki, and Murasaki literally awakens it through rage and all that shit because Bepepe is her friend. Like her doll is her friend. Like, but after what happens, Imu distanced herself from Murasaki, and you could say that she was truly jealous of Murasaki because Murasaki awakened the Root of Calamity before her. And Imu's probably thinking, I can't believe my weak little sister. Can't believe my weak sister awakened the Root of Calamity before me. Bullshit. I'm gonna distance myself from her. But yeah, pretty much after that, Murasaki stayed in her room. This is where she got the title known as, you know, Shut-In. And then, well, some of y'all already know her as the cute Shut-In, which is what her name is on the internet and shit like that. But she always stayed in her room. Like literally, if you can see like the design in her room in Shinobi Versus, she has a lot of games up there. And trust me, those aren't books or any of that shit. Those look like games to me. So those are a lot of games because she plays games a lot of times and stuff. Always keeping 100% save datas and all that shit. Always eating and all that stuff. And you would think for how long she's been in that room, for how long she's been shut into that room, she would have, you know, probably gained a little bit of weight and all that shit from the amount of food she's been eating and everything. Like literally, if anime were to do that type of stuff, like if anime games or anime series were to actually do that type of stuff, we'd actually see what Murasaki would really look like, especially for staying in that room for such a long time. But anyway, after all that, you know, after Murasaki awakened the Root of Calamity and used it randomly without knowing, what happened was she was invited to Hebijo. She basically was given an invitation to Hebijo when, you know, like her being a shut-in and all that stuff, we all know that, you know, she didn't want to go. She wants to stay in her room for good, mostly because her sister is distancing herself away from her due to jealousy and all that stuff, and Murasaki doesn't even know it. But she does know that her sister, well, she doesn't really know. It's just like she doesn't really know that her sister doesn't really want to talk to her again or any of that stuff. So what happens is Hebijo, like their parents want to like get Murasaki into Hebijo after the Root of Calamity thing. So they send a Hebijo agent or something, mostly a Hebijo student, Hebijo master, straight to her room. And that Hebijo person steals Bepepe away from her, and Murasaki uses it again, the Root of Calamity. This was basically a test. It was basically a test to see if she would pass to be accepted into Hebijo. She was accepted into Hebijo, but what happened was, like, she passed and she was accepted into Hebijo, but what happened was she still didn't want to go to school. She still didn't want to go to Hebijo or any of that stuff. She didn't want to go to school, and the one threat she told her parents along with Hebijo was, if you force me to go to school, if you try to make me go to school, I'll use my Root of Calamity on you. This was literally the exact dialogue in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. And literally, this was literally in the illustration novel or something like that, and that's what she said. Her parents, after that, her parents no longer bothered her again, bro. And that was pretty much the whole past summed up between them. There was one time as well, I forgot to mention this time right here, but There was one time where Murasaki went to check on Imu, and there she was with Miyabi. This was outside though. This was outside. There she was with Miyabi. Honestly, it kind of hit me right there. Like, it literally kind of hit me in the feels right there, because Murasaki was like, to be distanced from your sister because of a certain power that she awakened and stuff, you know, distance because of jealousy and all that shit. It just feels like sad and shit, you know, like the other characters in Senran, like, this is something I talk about when I say Senran Kagura lore and everything like that, because it's not just the fan service and all that stuff that, you know, makes things, you know, amazing to some of us guys and stuff. But I like Senran Kagura not because of that, but I like Senran Kagura more because of the characters' backstories and stuff like that. What's summing up who they are today. And this, you know, this special power, the secret ninja art, and you know, this sums up a pretty crazy past and all that shit, because this power is, you know, it's like, it may be a special asset to the clan, but like, honestly, it only ends up making another person jealous of this person for having something that they don't have. And Imu distancing herself away from Murasaki is a complete perfect example of that. So anyway, we're gonna get to the present now. So Imu comes to Murasaki and says, Murasaki, I need you. We need you in Hebijo. But let's face it, Imu didn't come to Murasaki. Imu didn't even want to see Murasaki. She only came, the only reason she came was because Miyabi was trying to basically make a team, summon up a team of strong ninja, of strong shinobi, to basically help her in her battle to reclaim Hebijo, in her battle to basically, you know, make Hebijo good again and all that stuff, because, you know, it was destroyed and everything in the whole previous battle that happened, everything with Dogen and all that shit, and Asuka and Homura having to face off against Dogen and all that shit. Hebijo was destroyed at first. Now Miyabi wants to rebuild Hebijo, and the only way to doing that is to getting the strongest ninja to help. And Miyabi was all like, Imu, I need you to take Murasaki. I need you to bring Murasaki to us. We need her on our team. And Imu did not even want to. Like, she knew, because let's not forget that Imu and Miyabi are childhood friends, and Imu would do anything for Miyabi. So she had no choice but to go either way. But let's not forget that Miyabi, I don't think Miyabi knows about the whole jealousy thing between Imu being jealous against Murasaki and all that shit. But she had no choice but to do it. So she's still like, Murasaki, I need you. Murasaki was thinking, oh, you wanted to see me again, sis? I'm happy you wanted to see me again. But deep down, we all know what really happened here. But anyway, with everything that happened, you know, it was basically a test, basically. So Miyabi could see Murasaki in action to see if she was worthy or not to be with her and everything like that, to be part of the team to rebuild Hebijo and bring it back up to the top. And with that, Imu was all like, I'm gonna take Beppabe away from you. And then like Murasaki uses the power, because this can only be awakened, like this can only be used through rage and all that shit. This is like, I think the third or fourth time that she's used Root of Calamity for the first time. Like the fourth time she used it, like this is the fourth time she used it. And with that, you know, it was basically a test to see if she was worthy or not to bring Hebijo back up to the top, to join the team and all that shit. And boom, Murasaki's in the team. Now let's skip ahead, let's literally skip ahead right now. So with Murasaki being on the team, now Ryobi and Ryona, who are on the team, want to exact their revenge for the death of their sister, who they believe Miyabi was the reason of the death of their sister, when they don't know the real truth, that she was destroyed by Ayoma way before any of that shit happened. So what happened was, you know, Ryobi being the top sniper and all that shit, tries to snipe Miyabi from afar. And what happens is Murasaki takes the shot. And this is where we hear the confession and all that shit, where Murasaki tells Imu that Ryobi and Ryona are going after Miyabi after everything that happened, you know, after, you know, they didn't know the truth and everything about why their sister was really killed. So what happens after this is, like, literally what happens after this is Imu tells Murasaki everything, the whole thing that sums up the past and all that shit, that I was jealous of you, that you had the Root of Calamity, and so I distanced myself from you. I love you, you're my sister and all that stuff. Well, that part right there wasn't the exact dialogue, but the whole thing about her being jealous and all that stuff, and, you know, having to distance herself from her, Murasaki was all like, sis, the sky looks great. I'm glad I could see it with you. I love you, you're my sister, and I love you and all that stuff. And then boom, she goes down. Well, she's not really dead, you know, it's more like a death question mark and all that shit, so she's not really dead. And, you know, it causes Imu to awaken the Root of Calamity, because as I said, the Root of Calamity is awakened through rage, mostly from what I've seen in Shinobi Versus, and how Murasaki rages, you know, when someone tries to, like, when anyone tries to take Beppabe away from her, she will, like, literally use the Root of Calamity. So Imu uses the Root of Calamity for the first time and defeats Ryobi and Riona, and that's pretty much it, you know. The whole Heavy Joe is a team again and all that stuff, and, you know, the sisters realize the truth of how their sister was truly killed and all that stuff. You know, Rin was the one who told Ryobi and Riona about the truth of their sister's death and all that stuff. And, you know, Murasaki and Imu, like, at the end of the day, everyone is friends again. Miyabi forgives Ryobi and Riona, and that's pretty much it for the Hebijikos. They all become a team and stuff, and that's just pretty much it for them. I mean, what else to say? The tension between these sisters basically start to rise up again, mostly in Peach Beach Splash, I believe. Like Estival Versus, I don't think we had any problems with the two sisters. I think it was mostly in Peach Beach Splash that this, like, whole thing occurred again. You know, instead of Murasaki, instead of, like, Imu having to distance herself from Murasaki back then in their childhood and all that shit, you know, Murasaki begins to distance herself from Imu. And what happens is that it's because she's seeing like how Imu is basically being so like, you know, paying more attention to Miyabi more than her. Like, this is the one thing, like, literally this is something that's happening, except it's like the opposite side again though. I mean, Murasaki got the note, but the note didn't really matter. Like, it honestly didn't matter, but it did put up some tension between Murasaki and Imu was the one asking here this time, Murasaki, did I do something wrong? And then as we got closer to the end, like, there was, like, a lot of tension built up. It wasn't even just Murasaki and Imu, but it was Ryobi and Riona, you know, who were having problems, because the little voice in their head and all that shit, like, the voice that was showing in Peach Beach Splash was basically the main boss. Like, he was like you could say he was like the main boss, but like well, he's not really important, but we all know who the dude is, the dude with the voices and all that shit. Play freaking Peach Beach Splash to know what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to spoil it for you for those who haven't really played Peach Beach Splash. But anyway, with all that stuff, the note didn't really matter, but it did cause some tension between the sisters and the other sisters as well. But throughout all of it, you know, Heavy Joe became once more, they were friends again and all that shit. Honestly, like, this is the second time that it's happened, but other than that, everything is just fine. I've pretty much explained everything, you know, everything leading up to this point. Murasaki, Imu and all that stuff, their past, the Root of Calamity and everything like that. What do you guys think though? Do you guys think that the Root of Calamity could be more than just a secret shinobi art? Like, can they honestly, like, can Murasaki and, like, will Murasaki, like, manifest this power? Like, because if you can see in the Senran Kagura games, she can actually use this power to her, like, but not like to her full potential. This power happens mostly randomly when someone tries to take Beppabe away from Murasaki. So this special power can only be used, you know, like, if you play the games, you already know that Murasaki's, like, special shinobi techniques are basically all Root of Calamity. Like, the little purple surge of power is the Root of Calamity that you guys see in the Senran Kagura games, and it can only be used through Murasaki. Imu can only, like, you can't use it with Imu manually. You can only use it with Imu, like, around, say, I don't know about the third shinobi move. I don't know about the third ultimate move in Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus, because I have not seen it at all. But Imu can only use the Root of Calamity Imu can only use the Root of Calamity in the story mode only. You can't use it manually. It happens in the story mode automatically, basically. So that's the only time Imu uses it, but you can't really use it to its full potential because Imu doesn't have any special moves with the Root of Calamity in it. So since hers is basically like thunder type moves and all that stuff, since Imu's mostly a paralyzation type, but she can still use Root of Calamity. But she can't really, like, use it more than Murasaki does. Murasaki has used it a number of times than Imu has. So, you know, playing as Murasaki in the Senran Kagura games, you can pretty much, like, use the Root of Calamity with her a lot of times. It's through the special shinobi techniques, the special shinobi specials that you can pretty much use it for. But other than that, what do you guys think? Do you guys think the Root of Calamity could be used to defeat Shin? I don't think it'd be used to defeat Shin, but I honestly think it'd be good if Murasaki and Imu could actually use this to their full potential and actually, you know, have it fully controlled and mastered, if you know what I'm saying, you know? They could turn it into more of a, like, more than an explosion, but more of a power-up, basically. But other than that, you guys, it is your boy, the Powerful Swordsman here, aka the Bankai to the motherfucking Tencho, signing out. And once again, if you haven't checked out my previous Senran Kagura discussion of why Yumi is my least favorite in Senran Kagura, I recommend you check it out. Other than that, you guys, it is your boy, Bankai X Tencho, signing out.